welcomed everywhere we've been. People have been overtly friendly. When we've been in tourist sites where there have been Iranian families with children, they've come up and said hello, where are you from? And we've had nothing but kindness the whole time we've been here.
Beautiful. Where are you from?
I come from UK, and my friend comes from New York.
New York? My goodness, my goodness. Actually, I live in California, and considering after September 11th, were you scared to come to Iran at all?
Not at all, but you see, we both teach in Abu Dhabi, so it was a very short, 1 hour and 45-minute plane ride to get here.
Oh, I see.
We're used to the Middle East. We've been here 4 or 5 years, and everything I heard about the people of Iran was that they were wonderful people.
Good.
And I had no problems.
Our colleagues, many of our colleagues, were surprised at our decision to come on vacation because we've come for Eid holiday, and some of them were very skeptical about the wisdom of coming, and it's just so false. We'd be glad to go back and say to our friends, you must go and visit Iran, because it's a beautiful country. There's wonderful historical sites, marvelous handicrafts. There's everything tourists could possibly want.
When I look at this map of Iran, I'm reminded that I was born there. And in the same way one never forgets a favorite melody, images of my homeland start to inundate my thoughts. Iran is a country whose hallmark is diversity, a diversity of peoples, traditions, religions, architecture, literature, and art have characterized it throughout history. Like pearls on a necklace, they form the magnificent tapestry that is Iran. Iran is bordered by Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, and Armenia to the north, Turkey to the northwest, Iraq to the southwest, and Pakistan and Afghanistan to the east. In fact, 1.5 million Afghan refugees found safety in Iran during former Taliban's repressive regime. I have now lived in the United States of America for 13 years, and in every sense of the word, America is my home. My wife and I live a happy, comfortable life with our 2 children. I work to take care of my family and truly enjoy my time with them. In Los Angeles, where I live, I am surrounded by everything Iranian. When I feel homesick, all I have to do is go to Westwood, located in West Los Angeles, which we fondly refer to as Tehrangeles. There are almost 500,000 Iranians living in Southern California, many of whom own and run the businesses on this busy street. There are bookstores, grocery stores, restaurants, and cafes, as well as travel agencies that have the best travel deals for flights to Iran and to destinations all over the Middle East. My travel preparations begin with the purchase of my airline ticket. I was encouraged to make sure my health insurance was in place. Vaccinations also are recommended. The currency of Iran is the rial, although Iranians usually refer to the price of things in toman, a unit of 10 rials. Many merchants will accept American dollars for transactions, and some businesses in Iran will even accept Visa or MasterCard. Naturally, the exchange rate can fluctuate. The current exchange rate of 8,000 rials to a dollar has continued for 4 years with little significant increase or decrease, which reflects a relatively stable economy. There are also carpet stores here in Westwood where one can buy beautiful Persian carpets, one of the most sought-after products of Iranian crafts. However, bear with me, we will revisit the subject of carpets a little later. Still, I realize that even in Westwood, I can feel how far I am from Iran. All this bustle, traffic, and activity, the little shop windows with their signs written in Farsi, are all signs that we miss Iran, the land that is the cradle of civilization. That's it. I'm taking a trip back to the land where I was born. I know how hard it will be to say goodbye to my beautiful wife and my children, even if the trip is to be short. And yet, I need to reconnect to my homeland and experience the rich mosaic of art, culture, and history that awaits me there. I invite you to come along on this trip with me. We will visit the places brimming with memories of my childhood and explore many magnificent and historic sites that bear the mark of a centuries-old civilization. For the most part, there are no direct flights to Iran. Direct flights to Tehran originate in many European cities, and I am traveling on KLM via Amsterdam. The flight seems long, but the friendly crew maps out our itinerary and explains our route. Filled with anticipation as we touch down in Mehrabad Airport in Tehran. My plane arrives, as do many others, in the wee hours before daybreak. There are restrictions on imports of alcohol as well as any adult publications in Iran, so be careful when you pack. Immediately, I am struck by how dramatically different the rhythm of life is here in Tehran. People's lives unfold in public spaces, and at first the hustle and bustle takes my breath away. And oh yes, the motorcycle is the most popular mode of transportation, and the average Iranian family can get very resourceful in the ways of piling onto one. The Borj-e-Azadi was built in 1971 to commemorate the 2500th anniversary of the Persian Empire and originally was known as the Borj-e-Shahyad. This extraordinary inverted Y-shaped freedom monument is close to the Tehran airport. Upstairs, the Azadi Museum contains a small collection of art and archaeological finds. You can also take an elevator to the top for a towering view. By daylight, I am once again taken aback by the intense activity of this urban center and by the huge volume of traffic. Crossing a street can be treacherous, and it may be advisable to ask a local for help. Tehran is Iran's largest city. Its population is 10.5 million. It is set on the southern slopes of the Alborz mountain range. The ancient capital of Iran, mentioned in the Bible, was the city of Rey, and Tehran was merely a suburb of Rey. When the capital fell to the Mongols in 1220 AD, its inhabitants moved to what was the suburb of Tehran. Scattered around are many famous old movie theaters. Films in Iran are subsidized by the government, and one of the most popular pastimes of Iranians today is going to the movies. In fact, in the last 10 years, the most well-known export has been Iranian cinema. But back to the really important things in life, like food. A great traditional Iranian meal is chelo kebab, very tender charcoal-broiled beef fillet served with aromatic saffron-topped rice, charbroiled tomatoes, bell peppers, and onions. Or you could get chicken or fish kebabs. Iran's drinking water from the tap is of the purest quality, flowing straight from the snow-covered Alborz Mountains north of the city. For three of us, dinner at a fancy restaurant with music and entertainment came to $10. That's right, the prices are a little lower altogether. This is Ferdowsi Square. Its name honors one of the greatest of Iranian poets, the great 10th century epic poet of the Shahnameh, or the Epic of Kings, a literary masterpiece that combines mythology, royal saga, history, and popular life. Now, on to Darband. One consequence of Tehran's development into the urban capital that it is that it has sadly also become one of the most polluted cities in the world. However, people's faces always light up at the mention of Darband. Darband is a village set at the foot of the Alborz Mountains to the north of Tehran. No matter what the season, you will find this part of town bustling with people of all ages taking walks, having tea on the carpeted terraces of the many cafes, or snacking on the goodies available. There are merchants selling kebabs, spicy beans, walnuts, berries, as well as full-service restaurants offering all sorts of food and entertainment. There's fresh charbroiled fish, and you could even smoke a water pipe. Even on a cold evening, you can enjoy an outdoor experience here in Darband, warmed by the heat of a charcoal fire. A popular site for hikers, there are trails that lead you up into the Alborz Mountains, where you can also go rock climbing. Our image of the Middle East sometimes makes us forget that Iran is a market economy like any other. The Iranian economy, like the American one, thrives on competition, and businesses are packed into Tehran's busy streets. In these commercial districts, one becomes immediately aware that while the scenery is different, the basics are the same as in the United States. There are numerous stores, and cell phones abound, as do advertising billboards. Competition is the name of the game. Unlike many other Islamic countries, Iran has an active family planning program, and birth control is widely available. Women are out on the streets early and late, all times of the day and night. In Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, most of these rights are denied to women. The newspapers run the gamut. The Hamshari, or the Citizen, is the mouthpiece of the mayor of Tehran and is funded by the city. It focuses on local news, including announcements of social and cultural events and reviews of plays, movies, and concerts. It has the largest daily circulation, in part because it has the best classified ads. Traditional Iranian ice cream is definitely a culinary delight to be experienced. Flavored with rosewater and pistachios, it is everybody's favorite treat. Another not-to-be-missed delight is falude, a cold dessert served in ice cream stores. I continue to navigate the city streets. This young man is selling phone cards. Altogether, one thing is clear. Commerce is booming. The veils notwithstanding, shopping has the same attraction for the women in Iran as in the United States, and the malls stock all manner of goods. As for this fellow, he buys and sells coins, but also repairs watches. I ask him to repair mine. Being a jack of all trades is a good way to get by and withstand the slump in any market. A charming paradox of Iranian culture is the constant coexistence of the old and the new. Here, this is manifested in the person of the young boy who sells us a fortune, a Fal-e-Hafez. Hafez was one of the greatest Iranian Sufi poets, whose mystical poems are thought to contain spiritual truths to guide you on the path of life. This young fellow makes a buck by selling the Fal, a random Hafez ghazal or poem, which functions much the same way as a fortune cookie, even if its origins are shrouded in deep mystic traditions. I wonder what mine says today. Elsewhere, I watch as fabric is piled onto the back of a truck headed for the bazaar. Traveling by bus to Esfahan, our first stop is the ancient city of Qom, where I am promptly invited by the driver to share his simple meal. The view of Iran and Iranians has been marred by political events in the recent years, which makes me very sad. An aspect of ancient Persian culture, which is practiced to this day in Iran, is the sacred place occupied by the traveler in the hearts and mind of all Iranians who believe a guest is a visitor sent by God. Every traveler is treated with graciousness and hospitality. In spite of the negative stereotypes that have abounded, the Iranian people love Westerners and are always happy to see them in their country. On my last trip here, I wished I had more time to spend at Ali Kapı, the Imam Mosque, and some of the other stunning structures here. I plan to make a return trip, but for now, I am just glad to be back. Even though I was born and raised here, every time I visit the majestic city of Esfahan, it astounds me. The great Safavid king, Shah Abbas, rebuilt Esfahan in the 17th century and made it his capital. The Royal Square, one of the largest squares anywhere in the world, was built by the king as a testimony to the power of the Safavid dynasty. A unique architectural edifice graces each side of this square. Lawns and flower beds surround the pool and fountains, which are in the middle of the square. A carriage ride around the Iman Square is highly recommended and affordable at the cost of approximately $1 United States dollar. This is a public space everyone enjoys, including the local kids who love to gather and play here. Navigating the old alleyways as well as the streets of Esfahan on a motorcycle definitely allows for a different kind of freedom. As I ride around and have a chance to look at the objects of daily life here, I realize how the people here have, for centuries, practiced the trades that make this such a unique and beautiful city. The very doorways to the houses are themselves works of art. There is attention to detail everywhere.
آموزش چطوری؟ حالا خوبه؟ یه دونه بس سنونی هم حامیدی؟ لیوان چیکار نداره؟ به لارزا من بستنی چه من زوری اینجا؟ لارزا یادش بخیر بدادش من چه میمدیم اینجا بستنی میخوردیم چه بستنی خوبه بود
I head to the bazaar where there is everything one may possibly be looking for. All manner of craftsmen sell the wares of their trade. But one can also find foodstuffs, spices, herbs, and other specialties, such as the inimitable Persian dessert falude, a heavenly iced concoction with starchy noodles and rosewater. Very refreshing. Juice bars have been very popular for decades in Iran. As a child, I remember going with my brother for a fresh squeezed juice. The palace of Ali Kapı was built by Shah Abbas to be the seat of government during the Safavid era. Purportedly from the pavilion, which affords a magnificent view of the city, Shah Abbas watched the activities taking place in the square. Among them, grand polo matches. Graceful twisting staircases decorated in tile lead up the 6 stories of this magnificent palace. The walls and ceilings still bear the elaborate and intricate frescoes and glazed tile decorations. Representational art at Ali Kapu is very rare indeed in the history of Iranian art, which generally focuses on non-figurative forms. Intricate columns delicately hold up the elaborately decorated ceilings. There's fretwork paneling on walls and doors, and an incredible variety of decorative motifs are used. Visiting Ali Kapu is a must, and tour groups from all over the world, as well as from other Iranian cities, stop here so travelers can get a glimpse of the grandeur of Shah Abbas' vision for his capital city. The Imam Mosque, formerly Masjid-e-Shah, is the largest of the monuments attributed to Shah Abbas. It was built over a period of 26 years. It was completed in 1638. This magnificent mosque lies at the southern end of the Meidun Imam and is one of the most stunning buildings in the world. Its distinctive turquoise minarets grace the skies of Esfahan and are emblematic of this city. Today, there is constant renovation and restoration taking place at the mosque. The Islamic religion was founded by the Prophet Muhammad. He received his first revelation from Allah in 610 AD. This and later visions were compiled into the Muslim holy book, the Quran. Muslims express their faith through 5 essential affirmations or pillars. First is the belief in one God. Second is daily prayer at 5 set times. Third is the giving of charity. Fourth is fasting in the month of Ramadan. And fifth, for those who can afford it, is the Hajj pilgrimage to Kaaba, the holiest shrine of Islam, located in Mecca, Saudi Arabia. 99% of Iran's population is Muslim. The remaining 1% are Christians, Jews, Baha'is, and Zoroastrians. The distinctive decorative blue tiles, as well as the calligraphic motifs of this mosque, are considered amongst the most beautiful of any mosques. The calligraphy is attributed to the great Ali Reza Abbasi of Tabriz, a master in his time. His work can be seen on many of Shah Abbas' monuments. His style was characterized by its sense of proportion and clean accuracy, and was often imitated by calligraphers in later years. This mosque is considered by all to be one of the most graceful in the Islamic world in the way in which it counterbalances majesty with delicacy. Because the mosque also served as a place of public address, there is a spot with perfect acoustical harmony from which any sound resonates clearly. The grandest and most romantic place to stay in Esfahan is without a doubt the Abbasi Hotel. The hotel has been created in the shell of the old caravanserai, proceeds from which serve to support the Theological Institute, the madraseh next to it. This hotel is dear to me, not only because it is a lovely spot to stay, but also because as a young man I worked in its restaurant. Favored by all visitors, this is the place to relax and truly enjoy the laid-back spirit of Esfahan in an enchanting setting. Its balconies, decorated woodwork, and gardens all invite you to savor the grandeur of a bygone era. It boasts colorful, ornate interiors, lavishly decorated, and luxurious rooms. Of course, all the rules of the Islamic government will still apply. No liquor is consumed in the Islamic Republic of Iran. Nonetheless, a sumptuous evening meal and great entertainment awaits you in the luxurious mirrored dining hall, resplendent with decorative miniatures, beautiful old carpets, a reminder of the ancient myths and legends of Iran, and historic grandeur. The Abbasi Hotel is one of the finest in Iran. For the traveler, there is quite a range of choices when it comes to hotels, though, from the very inexpensive to the very grand. The word Mosafakane is the original Farsi word for a hotel and literally means house of travelers. The Madraseh Shaharbagh is the theological institution which forms part of the same enormous architectural complex. The decorations here echo the same blue and gold tilework refrain as the Masjid Imam, as well as the same style of calligraphy. The gate, which has a richly decorated stalactite vault, has wooden doors decorated with partly gilded silver sheet containing floral motifs. The interior of the domed vestibule is decorated in a design of polished bricks and blue and white tile. The courtyard is like a garden and is cozier than those of the mosque. Resplendent with its balconies, small minarets, and rich calligraphic and tile decorations, the skill and grace demonstrated here are unsurpassed. The construction of this building more or less coincides with the end of the Safavid dynasty. Its original name of this college was the Madraseye Madare Shah, the Shah's mother's madraseh. And it was built by order of Shah Hussein's mother. This monarch was executed by Afghan invaders here in 1722, marking the end of the Safavid dynasty. Now, something I've been waiting for ever since I was in Los Angeles, a visit to the Carpet Bazaar. The craft of carpet making in Iran is ancient and involves a diversity of intricate procedures. The yarns are dyed in vivid and lively colors by natural vegetable dyes. I asked how long it takes this woman to finish making the carpet she's working on. She tells me it takes a year, working 3 hours a day. The art of carpet weaving has been perfected over 1,000 years in Iran. The traveler to Iran can definitely buy a carpet and export it. Given the incredibly high prices in the West, this might not be a bad idea. If you do have a serious interest in buying a Persian carpet, I recommend studying the subject a little more before making a purchase. There are many styles and materials, and learning a little about this elaborate subject is definitely advisable. Modern designs are either symbolic, religious, reflections of everyday life of the weaver, or inspired by whatever surrounds the weaver. For instance, trees, animals, or flowers. The Persian carpet is far more than just a floor covering. To an Iranian, it is a display of wealth, an investment, an integral part of religious and cultural festivals, and used in everyday life. The earliest known Persian carpet, dating back to the 5th century BC, was discovered in a remote part of Siberia. After the rug has been made, it is then shaved and washed to enhance its luster and natural colors.
پشمش جنسش خوبه، یعنی با اینکه پشمه ولی جنسش نسبت به بقیه پشمیا خوبه. متوجه میشین؟ یه سری فرشه تو ابریشم مثلا خب قومش همه سره، اینا که ابریشما قوم میبافن، مراغه میبافن، زنجان میبافن، همون سبکی قوما، ولی قومش همش بهتره چون تارا پودش هم ابریشم، زنجان و مراغه تارا پودش ابریشم نیست، ولی قوم تارا پودش هم ابریشم میگید.
This is the carpet I chose to purchase and bring home. It cost me approximately 4,000 United States dollars, about 1/2 the cost paid in the United States. About 30 minutes from Esfahan by car lay the Atashke, literally the place of fire. This fire temple was also known by the name Ateshkatea Shahre Ardashir, the fire temple of Ardashir city. I remember how as kids we would bicycle up to this palace and have picnics. In those days we were hardly aware of the history contained here. Before the 11th century, the religion of ancient Persia was Zoroastrianism. The building of the temple was once surrounded by turrets and fortifications. The thick brick walls that survive today date back to the Sassanid era. Zoroastrians considered the elements, especially fire, to be sacred. It is a religion whose primary precept is good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. The festival of Nowruz, the national Iranian New Year's holiday, marks the first day of the Persian calendar. It is a vestige of Zoroastrian traditions. It takes place on or about March 21st, which corresponds to the spring equinox, and celebrates the day the sun enters 0 degrees longitude. The climb up the stony peak of the Ateshgah is worthwhile for the view afforded of Esfahan to the west.
زرتشتیان طبق گفته‌های مردم اهالی این خشت‌های بزرگ رو به وسیله بز می‌بردن بالا و این ساختمان این جهان ساخته.
Historically, many religions have coexisted peacefully over the course of centuries in Iran. There are ruins of ancient Jewish holy buildings as well as Christian churches and mosques. Back in Esfahan, I decide to visit the botanical gardens. These are part of the public works projects undertaken by the Islamic Republic. And while they are hardly ancient like the fire temples, they do echo the importance that gardens have always had within the Iranian concept of architecture, linking the human to the divine. The garden has not only been an adjunct to a home or palace, it is also a vestige of paradise. For in the Quran, paradise is described in sumptuous detail as a garden. The bridges over the Zayandeh River are some of the most picturesque structures in Iran. The small tea house underneath Siosapol is a fun stop to have a cup of tea or puff a galleon or water pipe. The Chaihone, or tea house, is a great Iranian institution. It's an all-male retreat where the regulars sit all day drinking pot after pot of tea, pausing only to chat or smoke the hubble-bubble. The tea house used to be, and still is, in some places, a center for social life. Until recent years, many tea houses offered poetry recitals, storytelling, animal shows, and other cultural performances to pull in crowds. However, nowadays, only a few places cling to the old traditions. The lifeblood of Esfahan is the Zayandeh River, which literally translated means the life-bearing river. The name is revealing. In this country, dominated by high plateaus and vast deserts, access to water means access to life. While the Zayandeh River does provide some of the water required by the people, like most rivers in Iran, it is not navigable and ends in marshland. The irrigation solution devised by ancient Persians has remained virtually unchanged throughout the centuries. A system of underground canals delivers the water flowing from mountain snow to arable lands. Some kanats, or artesian wells, are many kilometers long and have been dug up to 300 meters below the ground. Daily life takes place in all its forms along the banks of the Zayandeh River, where children play and craftsmen use natural dyes to create the trademark patterns on fabrics sold in the Esfahan market, the Bazar-e Khesaye. These gentlemen are dyeing tablecloths. Now they are laid in the sun to dry. At the marketplace, additional patterns are stamped onto the tablecloths. In the countryside, one often sees sheep and goat herders. I'm struck by the simplicity of the lifestyles, which seem to have remained untouched by the passage of time. A shepherd's lifestyle is the same today as it was a century ago. There is something beautiful in the simplicity of this man's smiling face as he does his daily work and continues his traditional life. There is not a vast amount of livestock in Iran, except in the more nomadic areas of western Iran. Sheep and goats are the most reliable and durable animals and are used for milk, meat, and wool to make clothes and carpets. There are arable lands in the midst of this desert, and people who tend the land have modest lives. This man is a farmer who tends the fields here. The little lamb, he tells me, belongs to his grandson. Nonetheless, he's willing to sell it for $50. Agriculture employs almost 30% of the workforce. Less than half the country is considered cultivable. Wheat and barley are the most important cereal crops, which are grown mainly in the Azerbaijan provinces. Rice is grown in the Caspian provinces. Fruits are grown in the less arid parts of the country, including pomegranates, grapes, figs, dates, and strawberries. Oranges, peaches, melons, apples, and lemons are particularly prevalent in the Azerbaijan provinces, and the watermelons are huge in the Khuzestan province. Some other important crops are sugar beets, potatoes, nuts, tea, tobacco, saffron, and henna. Most of these are exported no further than the local bazaar. Cotton is an increasingly important crop, as is silk, with the help of silkworms, in the Caspian region. The crops grown in the countryside make their way back to the city streets for sale. According to one of the earliest Westerners who visited Iran, a Frenchman, Chardin, writing in the 17th century, melons occupied a singular place in the nutritional diet of Iranians of the Safavid era. He was so surprised that he wrote at length about the huge consumption of melons, stating that sometimes people will eat many pounds of melon at a meal and nothing else. Esfahan was the center of the production of these melons, and apparently pigeon dung was considered the best fertilizer for growing melons. This is the reason for the innumerable pigeon towers all over Esfahan, where the pigeons would nest in the top, and their dung could be collected at the bottom. Who would have known? At any rate, the melons of Esfahan are certainly known to be the sweetest, and I get one to take home. A popular outing on the weekends is a hike up the Kuh Sofeh. Take good hiking boots and join the many locals who start early in the morning before sunrise to hike to the summit. You can stop for a snack along the way and enjoy the beautiful scenery. Kashan, named after its quality ceramics, Kashi in Farsi, is the second most important town in the province of Esfahan. A favorite city of Shah Abbas, Kashan flourished during his reign. The king even asked to be buried there. The Madraseh-e Agha Bozorg was a religious school. Madraseh in Farsi means school. Agha Bozorg in Farsi means grandfather. This grandfather school was built approximately 170 years ago. The architect, Pushta Mashhadi, made sure that you are overwhelmed from the minute you see the courtyard and the main building. The mosque inside is perfectly symmetrical. During its time as an active religious school, the students lived in the courtyard directly below the mosque. This particular mosque does not attract students as it did during the Qajar dynasty. It is now a peaceful place where one may sit and enjoy the space the symmetry, and the atmosphere of learning. Shah Abbas also built a very famous garden outside of Kashan. This is the Bagh-e-Fin. The contrast between the parched desert environment and the oasis provided by these ancient gardens cannot be overstated. Old trees, pools, and streams of water create a serene and poetic space to luxuriate in. Everyone enjoys a visit to this earthly paradise created by the Shah Abbas centuries ago. This classical Persian vision of paradise has always been prized for its natural springs and still contains the remains of his two-story palace. The palace is also infamous as the site of the murder in 1852 of the revered Mirza Taqi Khan, commonly known as Amir Kabir, the Qajar's fourth king. With the conversion of the population of Iran to Islam, ritual purity through washing one's body became a requirement of religious life. Besides, baths were frequented not only for purity and hygienic reasons, but also for medical purposes. Physicians prescribed taking the waters against a great variety of ailments. In the Safavid era, cities like Isfahan boasted countless public bathhouses, also known as hammams. Wealthy Persians and Europeans had their own private baths. Bathhouses played an important role in social life. The bath was also frequented for socializing and relaxation. It was often a place for passing information and spreading rumors. The greatest amusement of the Persian women of every rank was the bath. Generally, 3 or 4 hours in the week were passed by the very poorest in the hammam. Middle classes made parties to go to the hammam and assisted each other in the various processes of shampooing, washing with the kisa or rough glove, and washing the hair with pipe clay of Shiraz. One of the most fascinating villages in the country has to be Abyane. It lies 70 kilometers southeast of Kashan. It's situated at the foot of Mount Karkas. Abyane is cool in summer and extremely cold for the rest of the year. Its location is fascinating in itself. The village faces the east for maximum sun and was built high to minimize the effects of floods and howling gales in the winter. The houses were built in a huddle to increase their security against frequent raids by marauders, and on the rocks rather than on valuable farmland. Most of what remained intact from the ravages of time and invading armies dates to the Safavid period, and most of the inhabitants were Zoroastrians, but later converted to Islam. From a number of lingering old customs and practices, it appears that the total conversion of Abyaneh from Zoroastrianism to Islam took place relatively late. Abyaneh's significance lies in the number of old buildings and in its conservative ways, which have resulted in the preservation of its local dialect, local dress, and many old customs. Men wear very loose black trousers, as in a number of other villages between Kashan and Isfahan. Women wear long pleated skirts and blouses of attractive colors with long slits at the sides. They cover their heads with square folded kerchiefs. Abyaneh is almost deserted because most inhabitants have gone to the big towns to look for work.
گردن نهادیم الحکم لله عاشق چنانی حبیبم گر برش خواهی خون بایدت خورد حبیبم.
This remote village called Garud is near Abyaneh and has many similarities. I found this village to be so remote that there is no written information on it.
خون بایدت خورد طبیبم درگاه و بیگاه.
اون وقت ساعت چند امروز صبحانه خوردی؟ Did you have your breakfast? امروز صبحانه چی خوردی? What did you have for breakfast?
بگو بلند.
Milk. I have milk. And some cheese. مدرسه میرین? You go to school. وقت از ساعت چند تا چند? From what time to what time?
از ساعت 8 تا 11.
From 8 in the morning until 11. از ساعت 8 تا ساعت 11 صبح. و بعد از ساعت 11 صبح چیکار میکنی؟ What do you do after 11?
میام خونه.
Come home. و خونه چیکار میکنی؟
درسام مشغول می‌نویسیم.
درس مشغول. They do their homework. تلویزیون چیزی داری؟ تلویزیون هم نگاه میکنی؟ آره. They do watch also program. چند ساعت در روز تلویزیون نگاه میکنی؟ How many hours per day do you watch television?
چند ساعت سیل کنی؟ 2 ساعت 3 ساعت.
چند ساعت؟ 1 ساعت. 1 hour. What is your favorite program? چه برنامه تو تلویزیون خیلی دوست داری؟
چه برنامه رو دوست داری؟
ها؟ موش گربه. Mouse and cat. روزای تعطیلی رو چیکار میکنی؟ What do you do during the weekend?
بازی میکنیم.
We play
نقشه
and we do our homework. بگو منم عزیزم تو چیکار میکنی؟
بازی میکنم.
I play.
میرم پیش مامانم.
I go and see
درس
mommy.
میشورم.
I wash dishes.
بله سر تکون.
اسم عروسک چی عزیزم؟ What is
یه
the
اسمی
name of your
بگو.
toy?
فرشته.
فرشته. Her toy's name is فرشته. رنگ مورد علاقه چیه؟ What is your favorite color?
نارنجی.
Orange. Very good. Merci.
Literacy in Iran soared from 58% in 1979 to 82% in 1998, and the number of university graduates increased almost tenfold from 430,000 to more than 4 million. Coincidentally, and to my astonishment, there is going to be a total eclipse of the sun. Imagine this. The path of totality is to sweep across England, France, Germany, Austria, Hungary, and Romania before crossing the Black Sea into Turkey and points east. So while the probability of clear skies is on the order of 50% in most of Europe, an observer in Esfahan, Iran, has in excess of 95% chance of cloudless skies. This eclipse will probably be experienced by more people than any other in history, as it is occurring in places which are easy to get to. As you can see, the skies are very clear. I'm truly blessed to witness such a rare natural phenomenon and share it with you all. I set up my camera alongside many astronomers who have traveled from Japan on the roof of Hotel Saphir. Ayatollah Ali Khomeini, Iran's spiritual leader, has called on the Muslim faithful to pray before this awesome display of God's power. Below, we hear prayer coming from the mosque. It feels like I've been on the road forever. Now it's time for some home cooking and some visits with my family. The extended family is very strong and alive in Iran. Many members within a family often continue to live together or in one apartment building into adulthood and even after marriage. Everyone is glad to be gathered together. It is not often that we all get to see one another. Iranian food is best when prepared at home. There are all kinds of fresh herbs that are always served with the food, and of course, rice is a staple. As you can see, Cokes are popular here as they are in the States. And you'll notice that we're eating cello kebab because it is considered a delicious food appropriate for special occasions. What's the occasion, you ask? Well, I've come home. Traditionally, Iranians sit and dine on the floor. This is believed to bring everyone closer together. It is also a practical way to accommodate many guests. Women gather in the kitchen to chat and prepare the meal, while men gather in the sitting room to discuss current affairs and play games. And more fruit, maybe from one of the farms I visited? My little cousin here receives a pretty dress for her birthday. For women in Iran, the rules about dress are laid out in the Quran. Women can go bareheaded only in front of other women, their husbands, fathers, sons, nephews, and small children. A rule requiring all women to appear in public in Islamic dress was written into the country's penal code. The hijab, which literally means curtain, is defined as any dress that follows Islamic principles. Persian rugs grace the floors of most homes. Now, what is she showing me here? Oh, her doll, Sarah. And now for a little dancing. There is nothing like family and home. Don't you agree? It's always the same, all over the world. We get together and enjoy each other's company, eat, chat, and hang out. What a lovely thing to see each other. And the most important person I get to see on this trip is my mom. We decide to take my mom on an outing to the park, and everyone comes along. The Islamic Republic didn't invent the veil. Even before the advent of Islam, the practice of veiling probably existed among the Zoroastrians. From the 16th century on, a kind of all-enveloping Islamic veil was worn, although it was not black, and its style varied according to region. The black chador seen on the streets today probably made its entry in the late 18th century among the upper classes. In the countryside, women have always worn veils, usually lively prints that protected their heads from dust. In my father's generation, it was quite usual for a man to have more than one wife. My father's second wife and my mother never spoke during his lifetime, but they have become good friends since he passed away. Here you see my father on the right-hand side. This was our family restaurant, originally created by my father, Ali Golistan Parast, also known as Hajj Ali. After my father's passing, my brother Mohammed converted it from a Persian tea house to a traditional Persian restaurant. This conversion took him 1.5 years to complete, as he took great care and time, paying attention to detail in order to create a truly traditional Persian dining experience. Even during construction, my brother received several letters of encouragement and praise from organizations such as the Iran-American Society and the American Peace Corps for constructing such an authentic and unique establishment in an environment where tradition was fading. The Iranian Tourism Board mentioned that 1001 Nights should be added to the attraction list of Iran. After the restaurant was opened and running for 5 years, our family lost it to the government in order to extend a park. My brother Mohammed is still crushed by the loss to this day. This empty lot is what remains of his 1001 Nights. I watch fondly as the sun sets over the city that is my hometown. I feel privileged to have been able to travel around and see all the people and places that I have seen on this trip. Now my trip will soon come to an end. I'm so glad that you could travel with me. It makes me sad to leave, but I bid Esfahan goodbye. And deep in my heart, I carry the hope that I will soon return to explore the many wonders of Iran.
شرکت ترانه پنجره‌ای برای طلوع خورشید موسیقی و تصویر ایران به خانه شما. شرکت ترانه ارائه‌گر موسیقی و تصویر دیروز، امروز و فردای ایران. ترانه، ترانه‌ای برای عاشقان وطن. ترانه نام برتر نوارهای کاست، ویدیو و CD های ایرانی در سراسر جهان. تلفن شرکت ترانه کد 818 708 11 66.